everybody, I'm back. Today we are on Cooking with Kimberly again. For those of you who are new here, welcome. This is my own personal cooking show where I have all of these adventures in the kitchen. I'm not a professional chef by any means, but I do enjoy cooking, I do enjoy baking. And today I am trying something that is also a European dish. If you haven't seen the previous one I did, that would be potato chorba. Mom taught me how to make one. I'll leave that card somewhere up here. But today I am making something called musako. So for those of you who don't know, musako is essentially just a few very simple ingredients, and it's just ingredients layered on top of each other and baked all together. So those ingredients are, we have onions here. it says one onion, but I have two because of the fact that one of them is very small and the other one's kind of a medium size. So we have onions and peppers. Then we have ground beef. This is about 2 pounds of ground beef. This is what I think is 3 pounds of potatoes here as well. So as far as your food ingredients, those are the only things you need: onions, peppers, ground beef, and potatoes. In terms of spices, I have parsley, I have vegeta, I have paprika, I have ground pepper, and I have a little bit of garlic. Now garlic is something that I've chosen to kind of add to the recipe simply because we like a little bit of garlic in our food. That's not something that you have to have. As well, you can kind of mix and match depending on your preferred spices. These are the ones that I use. I would suggest absolutely using paprika for sure, and parsley for sure, and vegeta for sure. But the pepper is up to you. If you don't like pepper, then no problem. If you want to maybe do some salt instead, it's up to you. Spices is kind of left to the discretion of the individual who's cooking. In terms of your ingredients and your spices, that's it. In terms of what you will need for your utensils, for your cooking utensils. So I have here obviously a pot. I also have a frying pan, so you'll need some sort of pot that is oven safe. I should clarify that because this is a baked dish, something that you put inside the oven. So you want to make sure that it's a pot or some sort of dish that is safe to going in the oven, regardless of what oven you have. I also have a frying pan, or you could do something that goes on top of the oven, but you need a frying pan just for the sake of you making your onions and your peppers. Next thing that most of you will need will be a knife and some sort of cutting board. I'm very fortunate to have a STM vegetable chopper. I also did a review on that. It's a fantastic tool. Again, card will be up here somewhere, and it's a really great tool to use in the kitchen. It really speeds up my food prep. So I have my STM vegetable chopper with its necessary assortments because I'm cutting various things. This one will be for my peppers, the one in there is for my onions, and then this one, which I've never actually tried before, is going to be for my potatoes. So I'm hoping that's going to work out well. So for those of you who don't have a STM vegetable chopper, advice would be to get one, but if you don't have one, you can always use just a regular knife and cutting board. The next thing that I have here is salad tongs. Now some of you might be asking, why does she have salad tongs out? I find when I'm sauteing my peppers and my onions, salad tongs are actually better because I have more mobility with them. I can kind of pick things up and flip things, as well as for my ground beef, I have more mobility. I can flip rather than using a metal spatula or something like that. I prefer to use something that's a more softer, kind of a softer touch. So in terms of ingredients and utensils and all that, this is pretty much it. It's a very simple dish. I'm going to wash up my hands and get started. Your first step is going to be with the onions and the peppers. So I'm going to chop those up. Just will wash my hands and I will start the dish. So my peppers and onions have been sauteed. You can see that I've now added everything that they need. Now that that's done, what I'm going to do is saute my ground beef. Now when I make ground beef, when I make sure that ground beef is cooked all the way through, I will usually add a little bit of garlic, simply because that's our seasoning of choice. That's my choice, that's our food choice. You don't have to do something like that. It's not part of this recipe. It's just the way that we happen to like our meat seasoned. So if you would like to add other ingredients or other seasonings to your ground beef at this point, you're more than welcome to. I'm gonna saute it and add my garlic and get that all finished. While that is cooking, while my ground beef is cooking, I don't want to waste time. I'm not just going to sit here and do nothing. What I'm going to do is shred my potatoes. Now, I have already cut myself today on this STM vegetable chopper. So like I had said in my vegetable chopper review, this is a very sharp instrument. However, what I'm doing is shredding my potatoes just so I've got my thin potato slices. in order to use them in my musako. Now what you can do if you don't have this sort of tool is to just chop your potatoes up with a cutting board. Now what I usually do, just to make sure that I can actually cut all the way through, is I'll cut them in half with a knife and a cutting board, and then I will go ahead and chop. This does have an attachment, this tool does have an attachment for your potatoes. However, because of the fact that the potatoes are not necessarily large enough for me to use with the chopper, I don't actually use a chopper, so I have my fingers very close to the blade, which is not ideal for safety, but that's all right. This is my kitchen, so I make the rules. So I'm just gonna go ahead and shred the rest of these and make sure that they all get in. What I'll usually do with potatoes is let them sit in water, just so that the starch can kind of come out, and I'll let them sit for probably about 15 to 20 minutes just in cold water, and I'll change the water multiple times throughout that process. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish shredding the rest of these, and then I'll show you guys how it's all put together. 3 sliced fingernails and a couple finger cuts later, the potatoes have now been cut into nice little thin strips. I soaked them for about 15 to 20 minutes. I changed the water. I changed water about 3 times, just to kind of make sure that all the starch or the extra starch gets out of them. Now this is a dish that is a potato and meat dish, so it is going to have extra starch in it, obviously. But I wanted to make sure that they got a little bit of that extra residue out of them, as well as potatoes come from the earth. They're a pretty dirty food, so making sure that you wash them properly is key. So at this point, I have my peppers and onions, I have my beef, both of which are seasoned, and I have my potatoes. I also have my bowl for my compost, just for our chickens, and then my pot that I'm going to use to put everything into. First thing you're going to want to do is combine the peppers and onions with the beef. So I'm just going to do that. You want to mix it around a little bit, just to make sure that it's all together. So I've gone ahead and mixed my beef and my pepper onion mix. I've got my potatoes here. So you're going to want to have some sort of pot. This is the one that I've chosen. Mom actually got this for us, I believe for a wedding gift, or just because. But she bought this for us. It came in a set. So this is my favorite pot to use in terms of musako, just because it's the largest pot that we have that is oven safe, and it does a really great job. So the first thing that you're going to do, you want to start with potatoes, because that's always a better idea. Now, depending on how you have sliced your potatoes or how thin you've sliced your potatoes, you may want to do a couple layers. So these are really thin. I'm going to end up doing probably 2 layers of potatoes, but I'm going to go ahead and layer them, and I'll show you guys how I put this whole mix together. It's potatoes first, then you're going to do it in meat, and you just essentially do it layer on layer until it's finished. I have pulled the mosako out of the oven. It is currently sitting on a pot holder, just so that it doesn't burn the island here. So you'll notice that it's very steamy, and I'll definitely show you guys a picture of the finished product. But what you want to do now, after your musako has sat in the oven, for us it's probably about 4 to 5 hours at between 350 and 400. If you have an electric oven and you can maintain the temperature, you just will know when the musako is done, because the potatoes will be soft. So that's a great test that Mom actually taught me, is you can take a fork and you can poke your potatoes in, or poke your fork in your potatoes, and if it goes right through, the potatoes are done, and that means that it is cooked through. So now what you want to do for your final touches, I have a bowl here. This is 4 eggs and 1 cup of milk that's mixed together, and what this is your glaze. So I will always pour very slowly, of course, because this is quite hot, and I will pour it over top of my musako, because having had it sit for that long in an oven, it does dry out just a little bit. This glaze adds a really nice finished touch to the musako. So once you've poured that all on, you're good to go. What you're going to want to do is put your musako back in the oven for approximately 10 to 15 minutes, just enough for the glaze to soak in and soak down with everything that's in your pot. So I will definitely show you guys the finished product of what it looks like. That will be the one thing left in this video. I'm gonna pop this back into the oven. You wanna make sure that you maintain the same temperature all throughout, something between 350 and 400. For us, usually I'd suggest for an electric stove, you do it around 375 because that cooks it in probably about 2 hours. If you're using an electric stove. But that's it. It's super simple. It's not something that takes a whole lot of time. Honestly, the prep work is the biggest part of making this dish. So thank you guys for watching so much. I appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.